How many people do you know who struggle with their health? Chances are, whether they show it or not, most of the people in your life do. And chances are, you're one of them. Whether you're dealing with anxiety, depression, endometriosis, acne, eczema, autoimmune, thyroid, Lyme, brain fog, fatigue, or any other symptom or condition, you're far from alone. Living with symptoms has become the new normal. So no more guessing games. It's time to get answers. Welcome to the Medical Medium Podcast. I'm Anthony William. We're talking about the 369 cleanse. There's never been a more important time in history to cleanse than now. If you're somebody that doesn't feel well, and you got all kinds of different symptoms and conditions, and you've been struggling, you might want to think about cleansing. But not just cleansing with something that has worked and has already saved lives. Not just one life, but thousands of lives. And let's be clear about something. This isn't a bullshit expensive program sales pitch, a nasty dirty pyramid scheme in health for a water machine. This isn't a biohack game to sell you a bunch of trendy things like collagen. And this ain't no probiotic, gut health, microbiome, fecal implant, ice bath, bone broth charade. This is the 369 cleanse. You could walk right into your local library and say, hey, do you guys have a copy of Cleanse to Heal that I could borrow? The 369 cleanse has pulled people out of living hell and back to life. From Lyme disease, multiple sclerosis, severe depression, migraines, anxiety, taking people out of wheelchairs, getting them to walk again, and getting their lives to where it used to be, quality of life. And how does the 369 do this? By removing things out of our bodies that should not be there. Toxins that thicken our blood, filled with modern day poisons that never wash away until we do something about it. Yeah, I'm in my favorite coffee shop right now. Yeah, just chilling out, working, trying to get some things done. God, I'm looking outside right now in the window. I should take a video of this. This is crazy. It's just endless streaks in the sky. Like here, I'll count them for you. Like it's crazy. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 20. There's got to be 50 or 60 of them up there. Why am I freaking out? I don't know. But all I know is I see them every now and then, but this is like getting out of control. Like, why are they doing this? It's like planes. I think it's like planes. Yeah. I'm just going to stand by the door right here. I need some fresh air anyway. I've been in the coffee shop for a little bit. Let me just take a deep breath out here. It's a nice day. Crisp air, but I just can't get over these trails up there. Do you think that stuff is like falling down on us? I don't know. I remember at the beginning of COVID, the streets were quiet. I was on the highway and there was no traffic. In fact, I drove 2 miles and did not pass a car on the other side. I remember hearing and seeing information out there. Streets were dead empty. Streets in cities were dead empty. People were leaving their houses. They were trying to get to a store, then quickly back home. And not too many people were traveling. Air traffic was minimal for commercial flights. But guess what? There were thousands of planes in the sky. Thousands all around the planet. Millions of planes in the sky. You can look up in the sky and you can see 10, 20 planes. But guess what? There weren't passengers on those planes. They were chemtrail planes. Here, the world seemed like it was ending down on the street. It was ending in people's homes. People were in fear. They were scared. No one was leaving their houses. And up in the sky, they were flying planes every single day. Every minute you can look up and you'll see them. And the streaks were there. The chemtrails were there. It was like nothing was stopping as far as evil doers. Nothing was stopping as far as the satanic cult behind the chemtrail movement. Evil was up high in the sky. That's right. Evil was in the plains. That's right. Chemicals being dumped on everybody day in and day out, all night long, all day long. It wasn't halting. You would think it would be. Nothing was happening. Everything was basically at a standstill. The chemtrails kept on coming and coming and coming, heavier than ever before. Darkness was above us, dropping stuff on us, and darkness was around us, spreading stuff on us. The manufacturing of the viruses, the lab viruses, the manufacturing, engineering of viruses, something that's been happening for over 100 years, classified medical research and science. Why do you think everybody's just sick out there? They're filled with viruses of all kinds. But during this time, way up in the sky, they were assaulting us. Who hired those millions of pilots to drop all that chem on us? Nobody knows. Interesting. But they were assaulting us up there while assaulting us down here with engineered viruses like COVID. And maybe you remember this, maybe you don't, but right before COVID, there was an engineered flu, a flu virus that ripped across the cities, ripped across the United States, around the world. It injured a lot of people, and a lot of people died from it. It was a bad, bad, bad flu. That was engineered. That was released even before COVID, only a couple of months before COVID. So why am I talking about this? All of it. Project Chemtrails started in the 1960s, and it's still here today. And these chemtrails are composed of every toxin possible that the chemical industry creates. This includes toxic heavy metals, mercury, copper. It's also including outdated, antiquated chemical storage bins that have been backlogged in storage for decades, chemical waste that has sat in tanks for 50, 60, 70, or 80, and even 100 years. It's a combination of chemicals, both old and new, being placed in planes and dumped out of the sky. When the Los Angeles fires were at their height days ago, because they're still burning now, when they were at their height, chemtrails were being dropped everywhere. Chemtrail planes were flying above, dropping chemtrails over Los Angeles as the fires were raging. The people behind the chemtrails are above even the most powerful public figures and above the people who seem to run every country in the world. The chemtrail hierarchy are not on the Forbes list. It's the secret society of doom. They're behind engineering the viruses that spread around the world, which there are more to come, and they're going to be worse than the ones before. And they're also behind all the chemicals falling out of the sky, out of the planes, onto everyone. If someone was just to say, give me one good reason to cleanse, I just gave you two. Pathogens love toxins. Pathogens eat and feed off of toxins. The more toxins and the chemicals and everything else that we have inside of our body, the more these bugs that stay dormant inside of us can wake up and feed and grow into something and turn into sickness, turn our bodies into sickness. We keep the toxins away from the pathogens that are inside of us, and we empower ourselves. If someone's battling autoimmune, they're battling toxins and pathogens. Pathogens feeding off of toxins, or they're battling a small amount of pathogens and a large amount of toxins. The more toxins inside our body, the more chances we can catch something. The minute a bug enters us through exposure of some kind, whether it's on the handle of a shopping cart carriage, whether it's in a bathroom, a public bathroom, on a toilet seat, in the toilet water, or by the sink, whether it's somebody that you had a sexual encounter with, whether it's bodily fluids on a glass that you drank out of that were somebody else's, in any way, shape, or form, when we get a new bug, its damage and danger to us depends on how toxic we are. That means if we have what the bug needs so it can proliferate, so it can actually expand, so it can grow, so it can multiply, it needs toxins to do so. It needs fuel. And the more toxins we have inside of our body, the more aggressive the pathogen can get. And what about our immune system? Immune systems struggle when there's a lot of toxins in the body. The more toxins we have in our body, our brain, our liver, our spleen, our pancreas, our intestinal tract, the more toxins we have inside of our tissue, our cells, our organs, the more our immune system struggles and weakens, because our immune system goes up against the toxins. Our immune system tries to gobble up the toxins. Our immune cells actually go up against the toxin, consume it, try to rid it, try to stop it, because it's a free radical. It shouldn't be in the body, and our immune systems know this. But when our immune systems are busy trying to go after metals and all kinds of other toxins, our immune system cells burst, they weaken, they get dried out, they die. And with the more exposure we get with the toxins and the toxins building up in every single cell in our body, our immune systems start to weaken. Pathogens take advantage of this. They feed off the toxins, not only feed off the toxins, but they don't have an immune system to really battle against, so they grow rapidly. And then everything is fast-tracked. Every cancer, every disease, every illness. Mach 5 cancers are a prime example of pathogens feeding off of toxins and then creating cancer. Pathogens feeding off of toxins, toxins feeding the pathogens, viral cells becoming cancer cells. So there's never been a more important time for getting rid of toxins. And if we don't, our bodies become the bathtub. They become that old, moldy, rotten, stinky bathtub and tiles filled with mold. Our blood gets thick. Our liver gets toxic, stagnant. It gets overworked, overburdened. It's not functioning like it should. Our intestinal tract gets all kinds of different buildup. Linings of the intestinal tract and colon start to harbor things that shouldn't be there. It's not just toxins, but it's a buildup of sludge and toxins, along with different pathogens that start to make a home there. Our brains get dirty, our brain cells die. Our brain tissue oxidizes. We don't have enough antioxidants. We don't have enough detoxifiers. We don't cleanse enough. And the buildup grows and it grows. Our brains start to hold things that it should never hold. And what's making us so toxic? Viruses and viral waste matter, pharmaceuticals, toxic heavy metals, fragrances of all kinds, bacteria and other microbes, chemical industry domestic invaders, chemical neuroantagonists, petrochemicals and solvents, chemtrails and rainfall exposure, radiation, EMF, harmful food and supplement chemicals, harmful supplements, harmful foods. This is just scratching the surface. And everyone is reaching their brain saturation limitation. When exposure is small, tiny, and occasional, here and there, you may not react or experience symptoms if you are not as sensitive. Someone may be on a pharmaceutical for a month or a pharmaceutical for 10 years. Someone may be exposed to fumes for a few minutes at a gasoline pump, or they have some gasoline spilled on their skin. Someone can be breathing in the fumes and get affected. Someone may not in the moment. Everybody has different exposures and symptoms to the exposures, but all of this can penetrate the brain. The brain has its saturation limits, and people on this planet are experiencing that right now. When we get exposed to toxins, when toxins actually enter us, they are usually attached to metals. This is how we get mercury, toxic copper, aluminum, lead, cadmium, barium, nickel, arsenic, toxic calcium, toxic chromium, strontium, uranium, toxic iron, toxic platinum, titanium, tin inside of us. We get these in us because they're attached to other toxins. What a lot of people experience out there in the cleanse world, the detox world, is surface detoxing. Surface detoxing is getting rid of some of the overflow, some of the daily overflow. Their livers are clogged up, their brains are clogged up, their organs are clogged up, but they're getting some of the lymphatic cloggage out. But that just gets refilled. So what happens is surface detoxing is different than deep cleansing, deep detoxing. Surface detoxing won't be enough for somebody who's truly suffering with a chronic illness, someone who has a high pathogen load, a high toxic load, low-grade viral infections, high-grade viral infections. Surface detoxing can be helpful, but not enough. And it might not even be the right kind of surface detoxing. Cleanses can't just be cleansing. They have to be nourishing.
but not just the word nourishing. It can't be just like this cleanse is nourishing, it brings nutrients. It has to be even more than that. It has to be wired to repair a damaged, sensitive nervous system. Toxins not only have to be excavated, but tissue has to be repaired. We have to bring the person back. A cleanse needs to do that. It has to be set so the person has every chance of fighting an illness, every chance of recovery. And what happens out there is cleanses aren't geared for that. It's all biohacks, hit or miss. And then the person's body doesn't truly go all the way with the healing process. Because first of all, the cleanses and detoxes out there weren't built upon the understanding of why the person was really sick to begin with. It wasn't built on the realization or the knowing about pathogens. What kind of pathogens? Which ones? Which varieties? What are they feeding on? How sick people can really get from that, and the process of what metals and other toxins do as they sit inside brain tissue and other organs in the body. And what about the immune system? Cleanses aren't built to repair the immune system. They're also not built to understand how the immune system works in regards to what you're even cleansing or how we got sick to begin with. A cleanse has to understand all of this. What that means is that when the cleanse enters the body, whatever that cleanse is, there has to be an understanding of exactly what the body needs. What is the person fighting? What are they struggling from? What toxins? How do these toxins get out of tissue? How do the adrenals stay protected? How does the liver function while it's under a cleanse? All of this matters. And that makes the difference to someone healing and someone not, to someone actually getting their lives back and someone not, and someone rising out of the ashes, recovering, and someone not. 369 cleanse cleanses the body while protecting the brain from atrophy. Unlike water fasting, a long water fast atrophies the brain. You lose critical nutrients in the brain, critical minerals, glycogen storage, old glucose storage disappears, and it's hard to get any of that back. Getting nutrients back into the brain takes years. It's not easy to do, especially if you're not 10 years old, 12 years old, or a baby, or 20 years old, but you're 40 or 50. If you're 40 and 50 years old and you lose all these nutrients, all that glycogen storage, all the trace minerals, all the neurotransmitter chemicals out of the brain because of a very long water fast, thinking you're cleansing the body, we get in big trouble. We have to protect the brain while cleansing. That's the biggest and most important thing to do, making sure you're feeding the brain lots of glucose, lots of trace minerals, and that's what the 369 cleanse does. Another thing that goes terribly wrong with cleanses out there is feeding pathogens. Take the milk cleanse, for an example, the dairy cleanse. What happens is that pathogens feed off of dairy. Doesn't matter if the dairy's raw, doesn't matter what kind of dairy. Pathogens, viruses, Epstein-Barr, the shingles, HHV6, HHV7, the simplexes, all feed on dairy. So the person thinks they're cleansing, but they're growing pathogens. They may not feel the growth of those pathogens during the cleanse. 6 months later, a year later, boom, wham, whack, they're sick. A new development, a new problem, because those pathogens got ignited. They strengthened, and over time, they grew. And that's what happens with the dairy cleanses. Another fat-based cleanse is olive oil. The difference is olive oil won't feed a pathogen. So Epstein-Barr won't feed off of olive oil. HHV6 won't feed off of olive oil. Strep won't feed off olive oil directly, not at all. But what the fat cleanses do, like olive oil and overt fat, is shuts down the liver. It doesn't cleanse the liver, it shuts it down, throws it into dormancy. It hurts the liver. It also hurts the brain because you lose glucose to the brain. Instead, you're getting fat to the brain. Something people don't realize is not the answer. Our brains run on sugar. Reduce the sugar going to the brain, someone dies. That's the whole point. So we don't want more fat and just fat in the bloodstream heading to the brain. Cleanses that are based on olive oil Drinking a larger quantity of olive oil also shocked the gallbladder. They shocked the gallbladder into potentially spitting out a big gallstone. Now, that sounds like a great idea. Oh, clean my gallbladder. Maybe I can get a gallstone out. But people usually get a gallstone stuck in the duct. And now they're in the hospital getting emergency gallbladder surgery over drinking a few tablespoons of olive oil every single morning on its own. Now, this doesn't mean the gallbladder is cleansing, not necessarily at all. Instead, the liver and the gallbladder go into spasm because of a crisis. What happens when you send that much overt fat and oil down the chute? We go into crisis. That crisis doesn't release toxins. Instead, that crisis causes a spasm. Your liver goes into spasm. Your gallbladder goes into spasm because it's shutting down. It does that because it's going into shock. That shock might propel one gallstone into a duct, but it doesn't mean anything's cleansing or moving you forward. Many fat-based cleanses atrophy the brain as well, like a bone broth cleanse. Just drinking bone broth, every now and then you see somebody out there, they're saying, I did a bone broth cleanse, I lost this much on my waistline, and I feel better and I have more energy. But that energy eventually fades. And over time, they feel tired and have fatigue years later and even months later, but don't know why. What happened was their adrenals got tanked. It was a no glucose diet. A no glucose diet, foods that are lacking sugars, healthy sugars, did not allow the adrenals to get a rest, to get a break. So adrenaline was used during the entire cleanse. So someone was doing the bone broth cleanse, they were on bone broth as a fuel, and then adrenaline as a fuel. Adrenaline had to surge through the body constantly, day after day, week after week. It eventually tanked the adrenals. Bone broth is not only dehydrating and not hydrating at all for cells, but it's also filled with adrenaline as well. Because when that cow was being killed, the adrenals exploded. They filled the bloodstream with adrenaline to try to save the cow's life during its death. So your bloodstream fills up with adrenaline, hurting your own adrenals, also stimulating your own adrenals to release even more adrenaline. Basically, you're doing a bone broth diet, a bone broth cleanse, and you're killing and destroying your adrenal glands. Many women who do the bone broth and only the bone broth, and they do a cleanse out of it, pay the price dearly years later, and now are struggling with other problems like chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue and skin problems where their skin starts to wrinkle quicker and they get the crept skin much earlier in life, years earlier, decades earlier. These are just a few of the cleanses that don't fare well for the body. It isn't even just some of the diets out there and diet belief systems that don't fare well either for the body, cause a lot of problems. A cleanse needs to gently feed the liver, gently cleanse the liver while letting it function. You can't shut down organs while trying to cleanse, and that's what often happens. You want organs like the liver to stay functioning at its best. You want it to improve instead of weaken during a cleanse. You want the liver to come back to life, to get reignited, to start to awaken, not go to sleep. Shock cleanses cause the livers in people to actually go dormant, to go into shock, to start to dumb down. You want the liver to start to ignite, to start to awaken, to be fueled, to know it's safe to cleanse. And that's what the 369 does. You also want the liver to cleanse in waves. You want it to cleanse a little bit and a little bit at a time and let it go deeper and deeper and deeper into the liver until the liver is fully cleansed. And even then, there needs to be repair, cell repair. The 369 cleanse creates cell repair. It offers the liver cells an ability to regenerate. So the liver cells can replace themselves faster, new tissue, grow, healthy tissue. So it's not just getting rid of toxins, it's about allowing the liver to get what it needs to restore and rebirth. You need a liver rebirthing. With other cleanses out there, when the liver does release something, it ends up back into the liver. And you don't want that. You don't want the liver getting recycled poisons that it released and now it's bringing them back into the liver. You don't want a spillover, and that's what happens. When people are doing biohacks, they're trying to shake things up. All that creates is a spillover. It doesn't create an actual cleanse because they're eating other things and doing other things in those biohacks or with those biohacks included that stop the body from releasing any toxins. It's just a mixed bag of nuts. It's a guessing game. So now the person is shaking up some stuff inside their body and it's got nowhere to go. It goes back into the liver and the brain. There's no way to cleanse it out. So if they do something to shock the liver or shock their system, all those toxins just get trapped floating around the body, and they think they're now having some kind of die-off or some kind of cleanse or toxin reaction or detox reaction, when in reality, it's just stuff being shook around by some biohacks and going right back into the liver and other organs, including the brain. If you hear about cleanses out there that are detoxing the kidneys, just know this. That's utterly ridiculous. You can't detox the kidneys unless the body's detoxed. You can't detox the kidneys unless your liver is thoroughly detoxed properly. You can't detox the kidneys unless your spleen, your pancreas, your brain is detoxed, cleansed properly. Your kidneys can't start cleansing first. It's not possible. Wherever your kidneys are, whatever stage they're in, they stay in that stage while you're cleansing. Now you can strengthen kidneys. You can make them stronger. You can make them healthier. You can fortify them. You can feed them nutrients while you're cleansing. And that's what the 369 does. It strengthens kidneys. You can do things to help support kidneys and support where they're at. But you can't per se cleanse the kidney itself, the tissue itself, unless everything else is cleansed. But you can strengthen kidney tissue. You can make it stronger. You can make it healthier. You can make it more vital while you're cleansing. The 369 is not a cleanse where you stop eating, where you're not eating anymore or getting any calories. Those kinds of cleanses aren't good. They hurt the adrenals. The 369 is designed, it's geared to protecting the adrenals. And all medical medium cleanses are geared to protecting the adrenals. Other cleanses out there are not geared to protect the adrenals because, first of all, they don't know how the adrenals really truly work when it comes down to eating and foods and health. If you do intermittent fasting, you're hurting your adrenals. Even if you're getting benefits, even if you're starting to get improvements, you're losing weight, you're feeling more energy, what happens is, yes, you're actually giving your liver a break by not eating all these fats in the morning, by not having sausages and bacon and ham and hash browns with oil in it and eggs and butter in the morning. Instead, you're not eating at all. You're intermittent fasting. You're just living off of coffee drinks, caffeine. You're waiting to eat at the end of the day. But meanwhile, your adrenals suffered and you don't know it. They suffered all day long. There wasn't a balance of nutrients, glucose, trace minerals. They weren't there. Instead, it was coffee. It was going without. You might have drank water or you might be consuming something else, but you're starving yourself all morning and all afternoon. You're intermittent fasting. This damages the adrenals over time. And cleanses like intermittent fasting, which a lot of people consider are a type of cleanse, do not protect the adrenals. There's never been a more important time to cleanse on this planet. This planet has grown toxic and it's getting more toxic. And are we truly adapting? Mach 5 cancers, Mach 5 diseases and illnesses, brain problems, Alzheimer's, dementia are growing rapidly. Are we really getting less toxic? No, we're not. We're getting more toxic and it's only getting worse. And I get it. There's a lot of ads out there. There's a lot of biohacks out there. There's a lot of programs. Everybody thinks they have the answer. Influencers are experimenting. They're experimenting on themselves. They're taking a crowd of people with them. They're experimenting. 3 months later, they change. They're doing something different. And then they grab a couple of things that originate from medical medium, like metals and fluoride and plastics and microplastics. And at the same time, they're screaming that. They're also screaming about processed foods and food chemicals. But when it all boils down to it, they don't know why they're sick. They don't know what's really causing their sicknesses. They can't see it. They maybe not even believe it. And then they're looking at what's on their plate. And that's what it boils down to. They're staring at their plate and they're thinking, okay, I got to change my game. I got to start doing maybe carnivore, or I got to get off of vegan, or I got to watch out for seed oils, or I got to do something else. And they look at their plate and they get confused, and then they switch gears again. And then they add some pearl powder to it and some collagen. They try to market it up and some colostrum. They try to sell something. At the same time, they're changing everything with their diet. They don't know where they're going. They're getting sick all the time. They got all their healers and doctors and practitioners. They're telling them this and that, and they're just stuck in the end. The 369 cleanse is freedom. The 369 cleanse is free. You can go to your library and just get the Cleanse to Heal book, the Medical Medium Cleanse to Heal book. 369 cleanse has healed thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions now after all of these years. People who healed real life results. That's the 369 cleanse. Protects the adrenals, protects the liver, protects the brain, protects the body, moves toxins out carefully, moves toxins out so somebody can heal. If you don't have time to get down to the library to get it for free, then just head to your bookstore. You can find Medical Medium Cleanse to Heal. You can find it on Amazon for roughly around $20. You don't need to buy an expensive program, $3,000, $5,000 program. You don't need to pay a subscription fee through a paywall on a website. The information is at your fingertips, and it should be that way. Many blessings, lots of love, and God bless you. A cleanse. That's a prophecy sitting in a health world of copycats and hypocrisy. Detox shapeshifters dressed in sheep's clothing, so-called researchers, biohackers, creating elixirs with no knowing. Who are they fooling? Around and around they go. When they change their direction, nobody knows. Trying this, now trying that. Oh, the fear. Protein or sugar. Only eat cow. Did you fall for that? A snare. Every year. In the end, down the road, they'll be preaching how plants are the only real show that saved their ass. Detoxes that rob the body, adrenal glands with nothing left to give are crying. They were hit by a tsunami. It's pretty simple. The information from above is providential. People being freed from the circus and being trampled. Look, this cleanse has a history. It works. Not my words, just thousands knew it took. Life was worth fighting for, worth living for. They bit the bullet, hunkered down, learned what to do, how to heal, and got rid of the poison that has been holding them back forevermore. So many overwhelmed with a long-time illness, but now they have a healing path. Take the 369 and cleanse to heal to your health professional. Make a pack. Ask them about it. Ask your doctor what's right for you and how they feel about it.
Original published medical medium information gets stolen and poached by podcast doctors, social media doctors, influencers, and medical clinics. Medical medium information has never yet been proven wrong by medical science and research. Instead, the opposite, only proven right and then taken from medical medium published material and used in the conventional and alternative health communities. Medical medium information continually sets the stage for medical science to understand chronic illness better. If you choose to share or use the original, unique content from the Medical Medium podcast, books, or Medical Medium social media, please cite where this information comes from, so others who see and learn of this information have a chance to know where it all originates, to give them an opportunity to heal, so they don't end up losing years of their life searching for answers like so many have before them. The Medical Medium information here on this podcast doesn't come from broken science, interest groups, medical funding with strings attached, botched research, lobbyists, internal kickbacks, persuaded belief systems, private panels of influencers, health field payoffs, trendy traps, or gathered bits and pieces of gimmicky confusion. Because chronic illness is exploding like never before in our modern day history, it takes a greater force than us down here. It takes a helping hand from above. Medical Medium information has street cred. It's an organic movement of countless people around the world healing. More healing stories of real people not being paid to tell their life-changing experiences of rising out of the ashes of sickness and entering into the light of full recovery, getting their lives back and finally healing when nothing else in the world of health could move the needle and get them better. The information on this podcast is not man-made. It comes from above, from a higher source. Whatever you believe in, whether God, the universe, the light, or the creator, or if you believe in nothing at all, that we're just floating through space together on this rock. Know that the information you hear on this podcast is separate from all the other noise out there. It comes from a different place, a pure, untampered with, advanced, clean, uncorrupted, original, primary source, a higher source, spirit of compassion.